High school sweetheart wife acting suspicious. Just need some advice on how I should go about this weekend. I planned on staying, but maybe I should leave with the kids. Well, act like I'm leaving and set up cameras? We had cameras, but I took them all out after rearranging the garage years ago. I remember it like it was yesterday, the first time I met Sarah. It was late in my freshman year of high school and I had just made the varsity baseball team. That was a big deal for me, being a starting second baseman as a freshman. The attention and popularity came with it, but I was laser-focused on the game. Then came the charity game, where our baseball team played against the softball team to raise money for the Children's Hospital. That's where I first saw Sarah. She was the first baseman for her team, and I couldn't deny she was beautiful. A lot of the guys on my team were talking about her, trying to get her number, but I wasn't interested in that. I was focused on winning the game. During the game, after I hit a single, I ended up on first base where Sarah was playing. I didn't think much of it at the time. I didn't acknowledge her at all, not even after the game or during the pre-game meeting to discuss the rules. Apparently, that caught her attention. She told me later that out of all the guys who tried to talk to her, I was the only one who didn't, and that intrigued her. A few weeks after the game, Sarah asked me to prom. She had gotten tickets from her best friend, who was a junior and didn't want to go. I wasn't the type to turn down a dance, so I said yes. Little did I know, that night would change everything. That night, we lost our virginity to each other, and for the rest of our freshman year and the summer, we were inseparable. We found every possible place to sneak off and be together. Closets in school, secluded spots on campus, anywhere we could be alone. Sarah had a high sex drive, and I was more than happy to keep up with her. Looking back, it was our intense physical connection and the fact that I didn't chase her like the other guys that brought us together. Our relationship was solidified with moments like our first prom, skipping school to be together, eating at different restaurants, and getting each other promise rings that summer. And of course, the charity game where we first met. But it wasn't always smooth sailing. Sarah was very popular and a lot of guys would text her. She handled it well, always blocking numbers and reassuring me that she only wanted me. She was open and honest, even giving me her phone's PIN. She hated the idea of cheating, and she made it clear that she was committed to me. This reassurance wasn't really needed, but it was nice to know she felt that way. Throughout high school, we were in many of the same classes and we excelled academically. We were partners in group projects and participated in activities together. We were inseparable and everyone saw us as a perfect couple. Sarah came to as many of the baseball games as she could, and I attended a few of her softball games when I could. My dedication to baseball was intense, and she understood that. Our school had a partnership with the local college, offering free tuition to students with a GPA of 3.5 or higher. I had a 4.0 GPA, which meant I had plenty of scholarship opportunities. By the time I entered college, I was making about $1,800 per semester from scholarships. Sarah and I decided to attend the same college, not wanting to be burdened with student loans. We lived comfortably during college, and I proposed to her at our graduation ceremony. It was a big deal, and our friends and family were thrilled. I had a graduation. I made sure Sarah had the wedding of her dreams. I was already doing well financially, working as a lawyer specializing in insurance cases. I was the sole breadwinner for the first 3 years of our marriage, while Sarah focused on selling items online through her flower store and completing her studies in cosmetics. She enjoyed staying at home and was very appreciative when I renovated our garage into a salon area for her business. Around her 6th year of marriage, we decided to start a family. Our son Isaiah was born first, and he changed my world. And 18 months later, our daughter Abigail came along. Life was good. We had financial stability, and Sarah decided she only wanted 2 kids after the exhausting experience of Isaiah's birth. She had her tubes tied, and we settled into our new routine as a family of 4. Fast forward to now. Sarah and I are 35 years old, and her kids are 7 and 5. Recently, I've noticed some changes in Sarah's behavior. She started leaving the kids with friends more often and coming home late. Initially, I assumed she was busy with salon appointments, but there was more to it. Our sex life, which had already been slowed down, became almost non-existent. Sarah seemed upset about it, but I planned to make it up to her by spending a weekend together, just the 2 of us. Then things got worse. Sarah started coming home very late, sometimes with hickeys on her neck. When I asked about them, she said they were from bee stains. I believed very first, I'm not well versed in gardening or bee behavior. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. She had always been loyal, and the thought of her cheating never crossed my mind until now. As I pieced together these changes, the late nights, the unexplained hickeys, and her distant behavior, a feeling of unease settled in. I wanted to believe her, but the inconsistencies were becoming too hard to ignore. It was time to take a closer look at what was really happening. Let's get a quick reaction from the community. Time to take the kids on a drive and see what she is doing after work. Jip your schedule to make it you not as available. Coming home at random times, staying late at work, etc. Your unpredictable behavior will force her to change, or just simply ask for her phone, like right after you read this, and say to her, something is not sitting right with me. The hickeys, the staying out late, the lack of sex, I believe you are having an affair, so I'd like to go through your phone with you right now. Her response will give you everything you need. Her responses will include that it is an invasion of my privacy. Her response, I understand that, but your reactions weren't my invasion. And do you believe this marriage is not worth saving? No? Okay, then I have my answer, and we'll move toward a divorce. Hands you your phone, sit with her, and go through it and pull up the recently deleted messages. Go through all apps. Know how to go through the phone. Update 2 days later. I want to start by expressing my deepest gratitude to everyone who reached out to me through DMs. Your support and advice have meant the world to me. A special shout out goes to Adriana, who was one of the first to offer her insights. The journey has been an eye-opener for me, and I hope my story can serve as a cautionary tale to others. No one is immune to infidelity, no matter how perfect the relationship may seem on the outside. The truth came out in the most unexpected and brutal way possible. It all started when I noticed the changes in Sarah's behavior. She had become distant, often disappearing for long hours, returning home late at night with weak excuses. Her demeanor had shifted from warm and affectionate to cold and indifferent. I saw unexpected hickeys on her neck, which she brushed off as bee stings, even though I knew she was allergic. My gut told me something was wrong, but I wanted to believe in her so badly. I turned to Reddit, seeking advice and support from others who had been in my shoes. Many of you suggested various ways to investigate: checking your phone, showing up at an ounce to the work, putting a voice recorder in a car. I tried them all, hoping to either confirm my fears or put them to rest, but nothing prepared me for the devastating reality that awaited me. Earlier this evening, after I had asked Sarah several probing questions and changed my behavior, she and Brandon, my best friend, sat me down. The moment felt surreal, like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. They could best. Sarah and Brandon had been having casual sex for about a month. It usually happened in her car after her appointments were over. Sarah claimed it was because she felt pressured and needed to escape. She said she was sorry that she didn't love Brandon and that it was just about the sex. Hearing this from Sarah was one thing, but hearing it from Brandon, my best friend, made it so much worse. Brandon, who had been there for me through thick and thin, had betrayed me in the most personal way possible. It was like losing two people I loved at once. Sarah thought I would try to work through this, believing that her need for more sex justified her actions. She mentioned that she had complained to me multiple times about her infrequent sex life, and when I only apologized without changing, she turned to Brandon. In her twisted logic, it was okay because she trusted him and knew I did too. I felt a cold rage settle over me. I told her she was getting served in 2 weeks. Her reaction was explosive. She became violent, throwing things and screaming. Brandon stepped in, trying to calm her down, and took her away as she cried and yelled at me. An hour later, she texted me, begging for forgiveness, claiming she didn't want a relationship where the sex was infrequent. She said she thought it would be okay if it was with Brandon because she trusted him and knew I did too. At that moment, I realized Sarah was insane. Her justifications were twisted and delusional. The one I thought I would spend the rest of my life with had become a stranger. The person I loved and trusted more than anyone in the world had betrayed me in the worst possible way, and the person who should have had my back had been complicit in it. To everyone reading this, please be aware that even the most seemingly faithful partner can betray you. Infidelity can happen to anyone. Sarah and I were perfect, or so I thought. We had built a life together from high school sweethearts to loving parents. But now I see that even a woman who reassures you constantly can lie. She can look in the eyes and make promises she has no intention of keeping. I hope that everyone can find faithful partners and never have to suffer the pain that comes from being cheated on. Thank you all for your support and understanding. This has been an incredibly painful experience, but it has also shown me the strength of the community here. Your advice, your stories, and your support have been invaluable. Part 3 of my story will be coming in about 2 weeks. I need some time to process everything and figure out my next steps. In the meantime, I will be answering any questions you have in the comments. I hope my story can help someone else avoid the heartbreak I am going through. Thank you again. Update, 4 days later. Hey everyone, Jack here. My name for those who wondering a lot of people asked. I want to start by thanking all of you for the incredible support and advice you've given me over the past few days. Your messages and comments have been a lifeline during this difficult time, and I appreciate every one of you. After reading all of your suggestions, I decided to take your advice. I went for an STD screening, and thankfully the results came back negative. But that wasn't the end of the story. I also did a rapid DNA test on both Isaiah and Abby. Isaiah is my son, but Abby is not my daughter. This news shattered me to my core. I've always had a nagging feeling about Abby. Her green eyes never made sense to me, considering both Sarah and I have blue eyes. Now that I know the truth, that's all I can think about. I regret getting the test because it's a constant reminder of Sarah's betrayal, and I can't help but wonder who Abby's real father is. Despite everything, I won't abandon Abby or send her to the devil of a mother. She deserves a loving father, and I will be that for her. I had a thought about during the time Abby was conceived. Sarah was working at a salon about an hour away, and I remember one of her co-workers vividly, Nathaniel. He had those same green eyes and even texted my wife as I said numerous guys did. She texted him back, but it was only to befriend. I thought nothing of it at the time because we were always in a good spot then. After dropping the kids off at my parents' house, I decided to drive to the salon, hugging and kissing Abby before I left. She told me if you loved me, which made me proud. I hate Sarah, but I love Abby with all my heart. When I got to the salon, I found out that Nathaniel was no longer working there. He left around 7 months before Abby was born. It dawned on me that Sarah probably told him she was pregnant, and he couldn't handle it. The clerk, after realizing who I was, gave me his address. She also mentioned that Sarah usually stopped working around 7 or 8 p.m. and Nathaniel would always drive her home. I didn't bother confronting him or asking her any questions. I already knew the truth after that since she would come home around 1 a.m. I just added this to the long list of betrayals. Brandon texted me apologizing and telling me the news of what has been going on. He said that he had kicked Sarah out because she confessed to him that she had chlamydia. I told him to get tested and that I hoped he didn't have it, even though I would never be his friend again. He asked if I got tested, and I told him my results came back negative. I'll wrap it up here. There will probably be another update for part 4 in the coming week if I figure anything else out, and I've seen people in the past tell ex-spouses to out their soon-to-be ex-wife for having whatever disease she has, and no, I will not do that. Other than that, this is just what I've learned so far. Should I tell Nathaniel about his daughter if he doesn't know? I'm conflicted on if I should just keep it to myself. I don't know. I never thought I'd be in a situation like this. I've come to terms with it since I heard expect bad things will happen, and Abby has nothing to worry about if one day her real dad wants to be in her life. Update, 12 days later. Sorry for the late update. A lot has happened over the past week. My family has been incredibly supportive, and we just celebrated my daughter's birthday weekend. I also had to catch up with work after taking a few days off to process everything I learned about Sarah's betrayal. This part might upset some of you, and I understand if it does. I apologize in advance. After much consideration, I decided to let Sarah come back and live in the guest bedroom. Her parents wanted nothing to do with her unless I forgave her, which I won't. However, I couldn't bring myself to let her be homeless. She was my wife and is the mother of my children. I don't want anything bad to happen to her, but she has 3 months to find a new place to live. She can stay as long as she agrees to give me full custody of the kids and admits that Abby is a result of her infidelity in public city and doesn't pose a threat to the divorce or me losing anything. I want to make it clear that I have no interest in getting back with Sarah. I don't even find her attractive anymore because of everything she's done. Just yesterday, she walked out of the shower naked knowing I was in the next room and tried to change in front of me. I told her off, reminding her to see the doctor about her condition, and made it clear I don't want her and never will. The only thing I'm struggling with now is getting back out there. I haven't really thought about dating, but I think it would be nice to at least have some fun while the kids are with family and I have time to myself. It's a strange feeling trying to move on and think about a future without Sarah. There will be another update once Sarah gets served. She's receiving the papers through her parents' mail, so she'll have to talk to them eventually. Her life is a wreck, and I'm already moving past her trying to pursue new connections. The only concern I have is whether I'll be able to trust again, and if I'm having my soon-to-be ex-wife living in my guest bedroom will make any new partners uncomfortable. Thank you all for your continued support. I'll answer any questions you have in the comments. Update, 1 month later. It's been over a month since my last update, and I can't thank you all enough for your help, but the best thing I could do is to give you what you wanted and write an update. A lot has happened since I last posted, but this is kind of what I got. Sarah has been living in the BS bedroom for a little over 3 weeks now. The arrangement is far from ideal, but it was necessary to ensure the kids' stability during the transitional period. As expected, her parents were furious when they found out about her infidelity in the situation with Abby. They refused to take her in unless I forgave her, and took her back, which of course is not happening. The atmosphere in the house has been tense. Sarah oscillates between periods of tearful remorse and resigned compliance. She knows that any attempt to rekindle a relationship will be firmly rejected. Despite the emotional turmoil, I've managed to maintain a sense of normalcy for Isaiah and Abby. They're my top priority, and I am determined to shield them from as much of this chaos as possible. Sarah has agreed to give me full custody of the kids. We had a lengthy conversation about it, and she finally understood that it's in their best interest. She's also prepared a public statement admitting to her infidelity and confirming that Abby is a result of her affair. This will help ensure that the divorce proceedings go smoothly and that I retain custody of the kids without any disputes. In terms of her condition, Sarah did see a doctor and receive treatment for the chlamydia. She's now on medication and following the necessary steps to ensure it doesn't spread. This whole situation has been a wake-up call for her, and she started therapy to address her issues. While I wish her the best in her journey to recovery, I have to focus on my own healing and moving forward. The divorce proceedings are well underway. Sarah was served with the papers on June 9th, and today is July 10th. We've had several meetings with our respective lawyers, and the process has been surprisingly smooth thanks to Sarah's compliance. She signed all necessary documents to ensure I get full custody of the kids, and we've agreed on a fair division of our assets. Sarah will take her online business and her personal belongings while I retain the house at my savings. We both agreed that this was the best way to minimize disruption for Isaiah and Abby. As for Nathaniel, reaching out to him was more challenging than I anticipated. I met him at a cafe, and his reaction was anything but remorseful. He was hostile, denying any involvement with Sarah at first. When I presented the facts, he became defensive, accusing me of trying to ruin his life. It was clear that he wanted nothing to do with Abby, even if the paternity test confirmed he was her father. He stormed out of the cafe, leaving the war, convinced the never that I need to protect Abby from people like him. Despite Nathaniel's reaction, I've decided to keep Abby's paternity to myself now. She's my daughter in every way that matters, and I won't let anyone hurt her. If Nathaniel ever decides to step up, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for now, I am her father, and that's all she needs to know. Moving on from Sarah has been challenging, but I found solace in my career and my children. Last weekend, we celebrated Isaiah's 8th birthday. I threw a small party at home with close family and friends. Seeing the joy on his face was priceless, and it reinforced why I'm doing all of this. Abby was thrilled to help decorate and choose the cake. Despite the underlying tension with Sarah, we managed to give Isaiah a memorable day. One of the hardest parts of the journey has been learning to trust again. I often find myself second-guessing people's motives and intentions. It's something I'm working on in therapy. My therapist has been fantastic, helping me process the betrayal and work through my feelings of anger and hurt. It's a slow process, but I'm making progress. As for Sarah's future, she has about 2 months left to find a new place. She's been looking for apartments and has even found a couple of promising options. I'm hopeful that she'll be able to move out soon, which will make it easier for all of us to move forward. In the meantime, we've established clear boundaries. She knows not to cross them, and I've made it clear that any attempts to rekindle our relationship will be shut down immediately. This may be the last update, but if not, for now, I'm focusing on my kids, my career, and my own healing. But thank you so much for the people who've helped me. You know who you are.